You know, the phone in your pocket, the Wi-Fi you're probably using right now, the shows you stream at night. There's an invisible architecture, a set of rules that quietly governs all of it. Today, we're digging into that foundational law, South Africa's Electronic Communications Act of 2005. I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about it? Why does your mobile provider have to meet certain standards? Who decides how radio stations get their spot on the dial so it's not just a wall of static? Well, pretty much all the answers lead back to this one huge piece of legislation. So here's our plan. We'll start by looking at what things were like before this act. Spoiler, it was a bit of a mess. Then we'll see how it created a single, unified rulebook for everyone. From there, we'll get into licensing, building out the digital highways, and finally, what it all means for the content you see and your rights as a consumer. Let's jump in. Okay, so to really get why this act was such a big deal, you have to picture the scene before 2005. Honestly, it was chaotic. You had one set of old laws for telephones, a completely different set for TV and radio. It was just this tangled, complicated web that was way too slow for the pace of modern technology. And this slide just lays it out perfectly, right? On the left, you've got the before. Everything in its own little box, tangled up and slow. On the right, the after. One single, streamlined law for the whole shebang. And the big goal, the key word behind it all, was convergence. And that brings us right to the solution, the Electronic Communications Act, or the ECA. This became that unified rulebook. But it wasn't just about tidying up some old laws. No, this was about creating a brand new master blueprint for the country's entire digital future. So what is this convergence thing, really? Well, it's pretty simple when you break it down. Technology was blurring the lines, right? A phone call, an internet connection, a TV show, they were all starting to travel on the same digital roads. So the law had to get smart and say, hey, if it's all just data, let's treat it all under one consistent set of rules. That, in a nutshell, is convergence. But here's what's absolutely crucial to understand. This law was never just about technology. It had some massive social and economic goals baked right into its DNA. We're talking about driving down prices by encouraging competition, pushing to connect all South Africans, projecting us as consumers, and, this is a big one, using the whole sector to empower historically disadvantaged groups. So let's say you want to start a new internet company or a community radio station. You can't just flip a switch and go live. You need permission. You need a license. Think of it as the keys to the kingdom, and the act is the rulebook that decides who gets a set of keys and how they're allowed to operate. And the Act creates two main paths to get a license. First, you have individual licenses. These are the big ones for your national mobile networks and major TV broadcasters, and they can last for up to 20 years. Then you have class licenses. These are designed to be way more accessible for smaller businesses or community-focused projects with a much simpler registration process and a term of up to 10 years. And remember those big social goals we talked about? Well, here is one of them in black and white. That 30% is a huge deal. The Act literally writes it into the rules that for those big, new, individual licenses, at least 30% of the company must be owned by people from historically disadvantaged groups. It's a powerful, direct tool for making the digital economy more inclusive. Okay, so getting a license is step one. But how does the actual network get built? Where do the fiber optic cables go? Who manages the invisible airwaves? Now we're getting into the nuts and bolts, the physical infrastructure under our feet, and the invisible stuff all around us. This is where the law gets really, really practical. I mean, to connect an entire nation, you literally have to dig up roads and put up towers. So the Act gives these licensed companies some serious power, the legal right to enter land, whether it's public or even private, to build and maintain the physical backbone of our connected world. But it's not just about the cables and towers you can see. There's also an invisible highway all around us called the radio frequency spectrum. The best way to think of it is like invisible real estate. It's a finite natural resource, and it's the space that every single wireless signal from your phone to your Wi-Fi to a TV broadcast needs to travel through. Now, because everybody wants a piece of this prime invisible real estate, you can't just have a free-for-all. It would be total chaos. So the Act puts a referee in charge, the regulator, ICASA. Their job is to slice up this spectrum and assign different frequencies to different uses. This slice is for mobile phones. This slice is for TV stations. That one's for emergency services. It's how they make sure your streaming video doesn't interfere with an airplane pilot's radio. All right, we've covered the licenses and the networks. So what about the actual stuff that travels on those networks? This is where the Act gets into the rules for the media we consume, the languages we hear, and maybe most importantly, the rights we have as subscribers. And what's so fascinating is that the Act doesn't just sit back and let the market decide everything. No, it actively shapes our media landscape. It mandates quotas to make sure we hear South African music on the radio and see local stories on TV. It even limits foreign ownership of commercial broadcasters to 20%, and it lays down strict rules for fairness during election time.
And this quote right here, taken directly from the Act, really is the heart of it all. It's the North Star for the entire law. Every rule, every regulation is supposed to serve one ultimate purpose: the public interest of the people of South Africa.
That public interest idea isn't just some vague concept. It directly affects you and me. The Act empowers us as consumers by forcing service providers to have a service charter. You can think of it as a consumer's Bill of Rights. It outlines the quality of service you should expect and tells you exactly what steps to take to resolve a problem when things go wrong. So there's no question, the Electronic Communications Act of 2005 was a total game changer. It took a fragmented, outdated system and built the foundation for the digital world we all live in today. But, and it's a big but, it was written back in 2005. In technology years, that's an eternity ago. Which leaves us with one final crucial question to chew on. In an age of AI, endless streaming, and the Internet of Things, is this 2005 blueprint still fit for the future?